War has always been filled with impossible stories. Moments where the human spirit defies logic. Moments where numbers mean nothing, and courage is the only weapon left. In World War II, a war of nations, machines, and millions of soldiers, there was one small battle that stood out as something almost unthinkable. 720 Polish soldiers, facing down 42,000 Germans. This is the story of the Battle of Wizna, a battle that has been called the Polish Thermopylae, a story almost erased by time, yet it remains one of the most extraordinary stands of the entire war. To understand Wizna, we must go back to the beginning. The year is 1939. Europe is tense, like a powder keg waiting for a spark. Adolf Hitler, the leader of Nazi Germany, has spent years rebuilding his nation's military strength, violating the Treaty of Versailles, and preparing his country for conquest. Germany has already swallowed Austria in the Anschluss of 1938. It has already carved up Czechoslovakia, seizing the Sudetenland without firing a shot. And now the next target is Poland. Poland in 1939 is a proud but vulnerable nation. It has been reborn only 2 decades earlier, after centuries of being divided and occupied by neighboring empires. The Poles know the value of independence. They have fought hard for it, and they know, too, how fragile it can be. Poland's military in 1939 is brave but outdated. Its cavalry charges are legendary, its infantry strong in spirit, but it lacks the modern equipment of its German enemy. Where Germany has tanks, armored divisions, and a military doctrine built on speed and shock, blitzkrieg, Poland has scattered defenses, fortifications, and sheer determination. Among the men preparing to face the German onslaught is a young Polish officer named Captain Władysław Raginis. Raginis is just 30 years old, a career soldier, calm, serious, and deeply committed to his men. He will become the commander of the defenses at Wizna, a small line of bunkers and trenches meant to hold back an army. But even he cannot imagine the scale of what is coming. On the German side, the man leading the attack is General Heinz Guderian. Guderian is one of Hitler's most brilliant commanders, the architect of blitzkrieg. He believes in fast-moving warfare, tanks and mechanized infantry punching through enemy lines before defenders even know what's happening. His 99th Panzer Corps, consisting of 3 divisions, thousands of vehicles, and tens of thousands of men, is about to roll toward the Polish countryside. And in its path stands only 720 defenders at Wizna. Imagine it. A stretch of countryside in northeastern Poland, rolling fields, rivers, marshes, villages dotting the landscape. Here, the Polish army has built a series of bunkers, not many and not even finished. Some lack proper ventilation. Some are missing weapons. Others are incomplete concrete shells. Yet this line of defense is all that stands between Guderian's massive armored force and the heart of Poland. The defenders of Wizna are not an elite unit. They are a mixture of regular infantry, engineers, and conscripts. Young men and older reservists alike, farmers, clerks, teachers, ordinary Poles now turned soldiers. They are led by Captain Raginis, who swears an oath to his men. He will never abandon them. He will fight until the end, and if necessary, he will die with them. In the last days of August 1939, German troops mass on the border. Tension builds. And then, on September 1st, 1939, Hitler launches his invasion of Poland. World War II begins. German forces pour across the border from the west, the north, and the south. Polish defenses collapse under the sheer weight of the attack. Bombers darken the skies. Civilians flee in terror. Entire towns are burned to the ground. And in the northeast, Guderian's tanks begin their advance toward Wizna. On September 7th, German scouts first encounter Polish outposts near the village. Skirmishes erupt. Outnumbered Polish patrols retreat into the bunkers. The next day, the full scale of the German advance becomes clear. Columns of tanks, armored cars, trucks filled with soldiers, artillery batteries setting up in the distance. The ground shakes with the rumble of engines. The air is filled with dust and smoke. Inside the bunkers, the Polish defenders wait. Each man knows the odds. They can see the endless enemy columns stretching beyond the horizon. But still, they stay. It is here, at Wizna, that one of the most astonishing stands in military history will take place. 720 men against 42,000. A defense that will last 3 days against impossible odds. And a sacrifice that will echo for generations. But before the first shots are fired, before the siege begins, let us step back and understand the forces about to clash. Germany's 19th Panzer Corps under Guderian is a steel juggernaut. It consists of the 10th Panzer Division, the 3rd Panzer Division, and the 20th Motorized Infantry Division. Together, they bring hundreds of tanks, thousands of trucks, artillery, engineers, and air support from the Luftwaffe. Against them, Captain Raginis has only a few heavy machine guns, a handful of artillery pieces, rifles, and light anti-tank weapons. The Polish bunkers are strong but incomplete. Many do not even have proper doors. Some lack periscopes. Ammunition is limited. Communication lines are fragile. And yet, morale is high. Because for the Polish soldiers, this is more than a battle. This is about their homeland, their families, their honor. As Guderian's forces surround Wizna, the German commander sends an ultimatum: surrender or die. Captain Raginis gives his reply. The Poles will not surrender, and with that, the stage is set. The storm is about to break. September 7th, 1939. The morning air is thick with tension. Mist hangs low over the marshy fields near Wizna. A cold gray light filters through the clouds. The Polish defenders huddle inside their bunkers, listening to the distant rumble of engines, the unmistakable advance of the German blitzkrieg. Captain Władysław Raginis moves between bunkers, checking weapons, encouraging his men, and calming their nerves. Every soldier knows the odds, yet no one falters. Courage is their armor. From the distance, German scouts observe the Polish positions, noting the small, fragmented bunkers and trenches. It should be easy, they think. Yet they do not know the determination that lies within these walls. At dawn, the attack begins. Artillery roars. The earth shudders with the impact of hundreds of shells. Trees are torn from the ground. Dust and smoke fill the sky. Stuka dive bombers scream overhead, their sirens wailing a mechanical scream of terror as they release their payloads on the Polish positions. Inside the bunkers, men dive to cover. The smell of cordite and burning wood fills the air. Splintered beams and chunks of concrete rain down. Yet amidst the chaos, machine guns open fire, rifles crack, mortars thump, Polish soldiers strike with precision born of desperation. One bunker, situated near a river bend, becomes the focal point of the German advance. A platoon of infantry approaches, confident, expecting little resistance. Suddenly, a machine gun nest erupts. Bullets tear through the air, cutting down the first ranks. Tanks trying to push forward get stuck in the marshy ground, becoming immobile targets. The Germans are stunned. This small line of bunkers is holding. Hours stretch into the first day. German artillery focuses on the central bunkers, pounding relentlessly. Every shell that strikes sends clouds of dust into the air, shattering windows and killing defenders instantly. Yet the Poles adapt. Some bunkers collapse under fire, but the crews move to secondary positions. Every man is a cog in a desperate machine, a machine built on courage and the will to survive long enough to slow the enemy. Captain Raginis coordinates the defense with a calm, measured voice. He is everywhere, moving between dugouts, shouting instructions, urging men to hold each position. "Do not leave your post," he commands. "Every minute counts." Even as ammunition dwindles, the Poles fight on. They improvise. Empty crates become barricades. Molotov cocktails are prepared for approaching tanks. Every resource, no matter how small, is used to slow the German advance. By afternoon, the Germans realize that a frontal assault will be costly. Tanks try to push through the narrow terrain, but the Polish defenders have exploited the marshes and rivers expertly. Anti-tank rifles fire at point-blank range. One tank, advancing too quickly, is disabled and set ablaze by a well-aimed shot. Infantry advancing behind it are cut down by machine gun fire. Guderian, observing from a distance, is enraged. His strategy relies on speed, on crushing resistance in hours. Night falls, but the battle does not end. Polish soldiers rotate between firing positions, tending to the wounded and repairing damage. Smoke and fire from destroyed bunkers light the night sky. Occasionally, German flares illuminate the battlefield, revealing the defenders' positions. Mortar fire continues in bursts, punctuating the night with deafening explosions. Captain Raginis moves through the darkness, encouraging men, reinforcing morale. "Hold the line," he whispers to each survivor. "Do not give an inch." September 8th. The Germans intensify their assault. Artillery and aerial bombardment are relentless. Flamethrowers are deployed to clear bunkers. Infantry charges are repeated, wave after wave, each met with furious resistance. Every position that falls costs the Germans dearly in men and time. Inside the bunkers, Polish soldiers fight under impossible conditions. Smoke fills the air. Walls shake with every impact. Blood, sweat, and mud mix in a grueling testament to endurance. Some bunkers collapse entirely. Others hold, even as their crews are wounded or killed. In one bunker, a small machine gun team holds off an entire battalion for hours. They fire until their rifles are empty, then throw grenades at the advancing Germans. When they are finally overrun, they take as many of the enemy with them as possible. Across the battlefield, every Polish soldier becomes a force multiplier. One bunker, one soldier, can delay hundreds of Germans. Every act of defiance stretches the German timetable further, forcing Guderian to commit more tanks, more artillery, more men. Throughout the day, the bravery of the defenders astonishes the attackers. Some German soldiers, later recounting the battle, expressed amazement at the ferocity and skill of the defenders. They had expected an easy victory. Instead, they faced coordinated, relentless resistance from men who knew they would not survive. Captain Raginis himself is wounded multiple times, but continues to move between bunkers. His presence alone inspires the men. He reinforces their determination. Every order he gives, every risk he takes, strengthens the line. As night falls on the second day, the battlefield is a scene of utter devastation. Smoke rises from broken bunkers. Bodies, friend and foe alike, lie in the mud. Trees are splintered. Tanks smolder. Ammunition is nearly spent. Yet the Polish line has not broken. Guderian faces a dilemma. He cannot afford to waste more time, yet each new assault costs more German lives. He begins to rethink his approach, attempting to encircle the defenders and cut off supplies. But the terrain favors the Poles. Marshes, rivers, and forests make flanking difficult. Every attempt to bypass the defenders is met with ambushes, mines, and snipers. The defenders hold hour after hour despite exhaustion, fear, and overwhelming odds. Inside one of the remaining bunkers, a young soldier writes a letter to his family, knowing it may be his last. He describes the noise, the fear, the bravery of his comrades. Every man inside the bunkers carries the same resolve. They will fight to the last. And they do. The battle rages through the night, unbroken. Every shell, every charge, every attack is met with resistance. The Germans begin to understand that this is no ordinary skirmish. This is something different, something legendary. By the end of Part 2, the first major phase of the battle is complete. The Germans have tested every tactic: artillery, armor, flamethrowers, aerial bombardment. And yet, Wizna still stands. The legend of Wizna is growing, and Captain Raginis knows that the hardest day is yet to come. September 9th, 1939. The morning is cold and gray. A fine drizzle falls over the shattered fields of Wizna. turning the mud into sticky, clinging death traps. The sound of distant engines and the low rumble of artillery never ceases. Smoke rises from destroyed bunkers like dark, twisted fingers reaching for the sky. Inside the remaining Polish positions, the soldiers are exhausted beyond measure. Wounds go untreated. Ammunition is running low. Hunger gnaws at their bellies, yet their spirit remains unbroken. Captain Władysław Raginis moves from bunker to bunker. His uniform is torn, bloodied, his face streaked with grime. Shrapnel has cut deep into his arms. His legs ache, yet he continues to encourage, to inspire, to lead. Every man looks to him, and every man knows that the line will hold because he will not falter. The Germans are relentless. Wave after wave of infantry advances. Tanks roll forward, flamethrowers ignite, and the Luftwaffe hammers the positions from above. Engineers throw explosives against the concrete bunkers, seeking any weakness. Each attack is met with furious, precise fire from the Poles. In one bunker near the river, a crew of 4 men fires their machine guns non-stop, cutting down German infantry in droves. They are wounded, their clothes soaked in blood. Yet they refuse to retreat. When their ammunition runs out, they hurl grenades. When grenades are gone, they throw whatever they can find, rocks, tools, even broken rifle butts, fighting tooth and nail. Outside, German tanks become death traps. The muddy terrain slows them, forcing them to halt and become sitting targets. Polish anti-tank rifles, though few in number, find their marks. Explosions throw smoke and fire into the sky. The battle becomes a test of endurance, nerve, and sheer will. Every German soldier advancing knows the odds. They are facing a small, desperate force that will not yield. Each man who falls is replaced by another. Yet the defenders continue to make every inch costly. Guderian grows frustrated. His blitzkrieg, his masterpiece of speed and overwhelming force, is grinding to a halt in front of Wizna. Inside the bunkers, the men fight in close quarters. Shouts, gunfire, the screams of the wounded, all mingle in a cacophony of war. In the dim light of makeshift lanterns, soldiers reload rifles, tend to the wounded, and fire into the endless waves outside. The walls shake with every explosion. Dust fills their lungs. Sweat, blood, and mud cover their faces. One soldier, trapped under debris in a collapsed bunker, manages to drag himself free only to rejoin the fight. Another uses a broken machine gun tripod to improvise a firing position. Courage is everywhere. Heroism is instinct. By midday, the Germans focus on the central bunkers, determined to break the line. Tanks fire at point-blank range. Engineers place explosives directly against the walls. Flamethrowers lunge toward firing slits. Yet still, the Poles hold. Captain Raginis, his body broken and bleeding, refuses to leave his command post. He coordinates defenses with meticulous care. Every decision is a gamble. Every order matters. He knows the end is near, yet he will not abandon his men. Around him, the last surviving bunkers are falling one by one. Every defensive position taken, every foot of ground held, comes at the cost of lives. By late afternoon, the Polish defenders number only in the hundreds. Many are wounded, many are exhausted, yet their courage never wavers. Even the German commanders begin to acknowledge the bravery of these men. Guderian's diaries note the fierce resistance of the defenders, their relentless determination, and the high price exacted for every bunker taken. For a moment, even the most hardened German officers are in awe. But admiration does not stop the assault. The Germans throw everything they have at the remaining positions. The sky is black with smoke and fire. Shells explode with deafening fury. Tanks, flamethrowers, and infantry push forward relentlessly. Inside the bunkers, the defenders fight with unmatched intensity. Men are killed and replaced by others. Every last bullet, every last grenade, every ounce of strength is poured into holding the line. As the day progresses, the number of defenders dwindles. Captain Raginis is gravely wounded. His voice, once steady, now strained, continues to give orders. He reassures his men. He tells them, "Hold! Every second counts. Poland remembers those who stand." Around him, the fighting is chaotic, brutal, and relentless. Soldiers fire from shattered bunkers, crawl through mud and debris, throw grenades through smoke, and fight to the last breath. Evening falls. The remaining bunkers are surrounded. German soldiers shout demands to surrender. Explosives are placed against walls. Flamethrowers ignite, forcing defenders into desperate positions. And yet, Raginis remains in his command post. He knows the prophecy of his own oath. He had promised never to abandon his post alive. As the German forces prepare to storm his position, he makes his final decision. With the last grenades in his possession, he pulls the pin. In one final act of defiance, he ends his life, ensuring that his vow is kept and that the legend of Wizna will endure. The battle is over. 3 days, 720 men, 42,000 enemies. Nearly every Polish soldier is dead or captured. The Germans take the line, but at a heavy cost in men and machinery. Their blitzkrieg so feared has been delayed, their timetable shattered. Yet the story does not end with death. The Battle of Wizna becomes a symbol, a testament to courage, duty, and sacrifice against impossible odds. It is remembered in Poland as the Polish Thermopylae. Monuments stand where the bunkers once held. Names of the fallen, led by Captain Raginis, are carved into stone. Their story inspires generations. Even among their enemies, respect endures. Accounts from German soldiers speak of awe at the defenders' bravery, their refusal to yield, and the cost extracted for every foot of ground. Wizna teaches a timeless lesson. Numbers do not define courage. Weapons do not define heroism. Honor and sacrifice can change the meaning of a battle, even if it cannot change its outcome. The defenders of Wizna knew they would die, yet they stood, they fought, they became legends. The smoke has cleared. The battlefield of Wizna is silent, save for the wind rustling through shattered trees and scorched fields. The mud is thick with blood and rain, littered with broken tanks, spent shells, and the bodies of the brave who stood their ground against impossible odds. For Captain Władysław Raginis and his 720 men, the battle is over. Death has claimed them. Yet in that sacrifice, something extraordinary has been achieved. The German army has captured the line, but the cost is staggering. Tanks are destroyed, infantry decimated, and artillery positions delayed. Guderian's plans are slowed, even if only for a brief moment. But that moment is a testament to the courage of men who refused to yield. In the days following, the world slowly learns of Wizna. To some, it is a minor skirmish, a footnote in the broader sweep of World War II. But for those who understand the human spirit, Wizna is monumental. It is the story of courage in the face of annihilation, of men who chose duty over life, honor over survival. Monuments rise on the fields of Wizna. Plaques and statues commemorate the fallen. Captain Raginis' name is etched in stone, a symbol of bravery and unwavering leadership. The Battle of Wizna has been compared to ancient heroics. Some call it the Polish Thermopylae. Like Leonidas and his 300 Spartans at the narrow pass, Raginis and his men held a small line against overwhelming force. But unlike legend, this is reality: blood, mud, smoke, and fire. The Poles fought not for fame, but for their homeland. They fought because they understood the value of time, the meaning of honor, and the cost of freedom. Beyond the battlefield, the story of Wizna reverberates. The German soldiers who witnessed the defense speak in hushed tones of awe. Officers in Guderian's army recognize the courage, the discipline, and the sheer tenacity of these men. Even in victory, there is respect. And in Poland, the story grows. Families tell it to children. Soldiers study it in military academies. Historians call it a moment that embodies the indomitable human spirit. But Wizna is also a cautionary tale. It is a reminder of the brutality of war, of the devastating power of modern mechanized armies. It shows that courage alone cannot change the tide of destruction. Yet it also proves that bravery can delay, can inspire, can leave a mark on history that lasts far longer than any war machine. Let us remember the numbers. 720 defenders, 42,000 attackers. The odds were unimaginable. The outcome, tragic. And yet, the defenders of Wizna achieved something far greater than victory or defeat. They etched a story into history, a story of unbreakable will, a story that teaches us about duty, honor, and sacrifice. In the quiet fields where bunkers once stood, the wind whispers through the grass. It carries the names of the fallen. It carries the memory of those who fought, knowing they would not survive. It tells us that true courage is not measured by numbers, by guns, or by artillery. True courage is measured by the willingness to stand, to fight, and to sacrifice, even when death is certain. Captain Władysław Raginis' final act, taking his own life rather than abandoning his post, is emblematic of this courage. It is a symbol of leadership, of duty fulfilled to the very end. His men, his country, and the world remember him. Wizna was lost in terms of territory, but it was won in spirit. History has a way of overlooking small battles, buried under the weight of global conflict. Yet some battles demand remembrance. Wizna is one of them. It is a testament to humanity's capacity for courage, a reminder that even in the face of overwhelming destruction, the human spirit can rise. That honor, duty, and sacrifice are not bound by numbers, but by the strength of the soul. In remembering Wizna, we honor more than the men who died. We honor the idea that even against impossible odds, we can stand, that even in the darkest hour, bravery shines. That history is shaped not only by the powerful, but by those who refuse to yield. The fields of Wizna are quiet now, the guns are silent, the tanks are gone. Yet the story lives on. 720 against 42,000. A fight that should have been impossible, and yet it was fought, and it was remembered. This is the legacy of Wizna. This is the courage of Captain Raginis. This is the heart of Poland. Even when the world forgets the small battles, the acts of bravery endure. Even when history moves on, the story of Wizna reminds us courage matters, sacrifice matters, honor matters. And in the annals of human history, the defenders of Wizna will never be forgotten.